All right, all right, all right. What's up, everyone? We are back with a little unfiltered live. Let me pull the chat up on my phone and turn my sounds off. That'll be smart. Let's see here. That's not how you do it. All right. So today I was just in a talkative mood. So this video we're gonna do just some Q&As from the people in Patreon. I'm gonna talk about some things I've been working on, and I mean we'll just see where yapping gets us. All right, there we are. I'm now on the live, and there we go. What's up, Ola? Checking in from North Carolina, Northern California. Nice. What did y'all brew today? For me, it was Echimo from Wendelbo. I am sad I couldn't find any decaf, but you know that never stopped me before. So I'm going to do a little of the Esmeralda washed Gesha that we're about to launch in Europe because it's really, it's really dainty and floral and light. So that means it's less decaf, right? That's sound logic, yeah. I'll do just a baby dose. Oh, got to turn off the sound on my computer. Or, no, on my phone. There we go. Okay. So, I need a dose cup. There's a mess in here. As y'all can see, my ADHD has just taken over me lately, and I'm just letting it. I'm just embracing it. I'm just doing it, letting it happen. Let's see. We'll just do a 10-gram dose. We'll do a little baby dose. A little 10-grammer. That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, I need to remember to tape this up. So right now, just so y'all know what I'm working with, I've got the new Flair 58 over here off camera. I have the Zerno most recent drop here. You can see the lid of it right there. I have an EK with new Burrs in it that I've been seasoning. Okay, I've got the Mazda Philos here. I've got a decent espresso machine here. I have my Pietro here. I have behind me, I have this cheap little trashy grinder that someone sent me like 2 years ago. They were thinking about selling it, but they're not. But it's just little white plastic, like little 150 watt motor flat burr grinder, 60 mil burrs. The other night, because I just wanted some dopamine, I had a little speed router controller in my drawer. And so I was like, I'm going to go find that grinder in the basement. I'm going to install it. So now there's a little, I installed this little knob on it. So now it changes RPM. And I thought it just looked kind of nice on the very back. There was nothing in the neck of this. So I just housed it in there, put it up against the wall. And I got a little variable RPM cheapo. I may give this away for funsies. I mean, it's not a great grinder, but it's a fun one. You know, it's cute. It's fun. Could be a fun little, I don't know, fun little thing for someone. But anyway, we have that. I have a DeLonghi Stylosa on the back bar that I'm in the process of modifying. I was going to do the Gajuino on it, but I decided against that because there's a lot of like annoying mods I'll have to do. So instead, I'm just going to do like a really clean dimmer mod to it and maybe install a pressure gauge on it. And I put the Rancilio steam one on it. But I'm still playing around with the ideas of what I can do with it. It's a stainless steel boiler in it, which is really nice for like $90. I got it on Black Friday for €83 or something. Tools. I was dremeling Burr carriers and trash on the weekend. I have coffee splayed on the ground. This is an authentic look at what my studio looks like when I'm not filming. When Ugo gets here, that's when I clean quickly because he doesn't like a dirty studio. So I come in early when he's coming and I clean. But yeah, I might give that little guy away for funsies to the Patreon peeps through a competition. But yeah, we have a competition coming to an end in like 2 or 3 days for some conical Burr grinders. If you're in the Patreon and haven't entered that, go answer the question and have a chance to win one of those. It's like an Ari's MX Cool grinder. There's shoot, I don't remember. It's 3 conical Burrs. Baratza Encore ESP and the Femobook. Three grinders there that will be up for grabs. And then we're doing like flat burr grinders. I think we're doing, I can't remember what they are. I announced them in the Patreon, but yeah, so those are coming, and we're gonna have a big old December of these competition like things, which is gonna be super fun. All right, so I'm brewing up this Esmeralda. So what's nice about this brewer, I haven't talked about it because I don't know, making a full video about a pour over is weird, but because it's so narrow, you can do really small doses and have a super deep bed. And y'all know how I feel about deep beds. So you can get really nice brews even with teeny tiny doses. Like this was 10 grams, so 8 grams would still be like here, which is really impressive. So it's pretty good for that. All right, so we'll go through some comments. Zerno 80 millimeter. No, sorry. The most recent drop of Zerno. This is still 64. I have heard there's an 80 in the works, and I heard there's another 80 flat in the works with an auger. I can't say who, I can't say where, but I heard a little birdie tell me something about another 80 millimeter flat vertically mounted auger driven Burr grinder. Okay, that's enough of that. Looked up LeBrew, ordered the 078 Burrs, but also the full roast kit. Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, I should be getting, I need to send them my address to get the Burrs, but I have Burrs coming from LeBrew. And then here, let's just go. Let's go to 160, make it a little 1 to 10 ski, or 1 to 16. There we go. All right, let's put the kettle away. Yeah, it is a mess in here. And I have my dog on the ground at my feet. But yeah, has the Femobook stack up against Miss MX Cool? I prefer the Femobook. I'm not a big fan of the MX Cool, which is why you didn't see a review of it. I've stated many times, but it's always good to state it. I have a lack of super negative reviews on my channel, and it's not because everything that's made is great. It's simply because I kind of have personal rules for doing negative reviews, and those rules are essentially if I don't like a product, I will not review it unless they A, lie in their marketing, which MX Cool did not, or B, it's a super, super hyped product, and it's something that like I could foresee people, misappropriating their funds towards, in my opinion. Obviously, anyone can do what they want with their money, but so those are the only times I give like a negative review. That's why there aren't many super, negative reviews on my page. And so the MX, it didn't strike either of those boxes. It wasn't super hyped, and they're not lying in their marketing. They're a cool crew. I like the guys there, but it just didn't warrant a review. And so I didn't review it. And I'm just giving it away. At the price point and everything considering, it just didn't warrant. It wouldn't have been. It's like, I don't want to make a video that's just like bashing on a small company for no point. And I'm not trying to bash on small companies when I do negative reviews. It's like I said, I feel there's I feel like I have a quasi ethical situation where kind of like a moral imperative where if I know something's not great and I think it's overpriced, or if I think people might waste some money on it or whatever it might be, then I'll make a video. But I don't relish making those types of videos. I always get super nervous and not in my stomach when I'm posting a more negative style review. But on occasion they are called upon, hence me making some. Okay, so enough of that. Let's get this coffee going, and let's show you all my puppy who's on the ground right now. He's probably not going to like this, but come here, big boy. Hello. Hi. Can you say hi to everyone? Can you say hi? Say hello. Good boy. What your baby? He's 6.5 months old. Look how big this boy is. Hello, big boy. Mwah. Good boy. Okay. All right, let me take a sip of this. Nice. Saw your post on the upcoming vid on sifting grounds. Do you talk about sieve hole shapes? No, I don't. I saw some that Kroof had different shaped holes than Fellow. No, the thing is the holes don't matter as much. What's going to happen inevitably is weirdly shaped particles will make it through the sieves. It's going to happen the more you shake. So this video is more so focused on the taste comparison of fines without fines. So it's kind of a play off my Brewer's Cup routine from a few years ago, and just kind of expounding on that, I guess. But just looking at, I also did a fun little experiment where I took the leftover fines from my testing and I cupped it. Well, I didn't actually do the tasting because that's gross, but I cupped it and I let it sit. And at every 30-second juncture, I took a measurement to see where the extraction was at. And then I did the same with like normal grounds. And fines, they peaked at extraction at 30 seconds. They probably peaked earlier, but I can't pour the water in fast enough and ensure all of the grounds are perfectly saturated prior to 30 seconds while also getting a good sample. I probably do it like 20 if I really tried, but at 30 it already peaked its extraction. 30 seconds is all it takes for fines to extract max. It could be done faster. So fines are incredibly fast extracting. So there was a built-in flaw in my Brewer's Cup routine because I speculated then that the fines could continue to extract, and that's why I removed them. But I still stand by the conclusion, which is based off of the flavor profile, which is fines are necessary for body, and I think removing them can help the flow through the bed. And I bring that up in the video. But anyway. Let's see. So just so you kind of understand, in the video I do Pietro Pro Brew, so my Burrs versus a Porlex grinder, which is actually still right here. And because the myth is that, a lot of people, I know you all don't believe this, but a lot of people believe that there's no real voodoo behind grinding. That's just cracking beans, and that the differences between Burrs are all bollocks. And the more liberal of those types of people will say, well, yeah, the only difference is really fines. After that, it's just ground up coffee. So I was like, all right, well, let's put it to the test. Let's actually pull some data on this and do some taste tests. So I took this, sieved all the fines out that I could. Which was substantial. It was about 100% more fines than what the Pietro was creating, at least what was siftable in about a 30-second amount of shaking. By the way, my whoop band counted that as a full workout for the day. I burned like 400 calories during that session of 5 hours of shaking and brewing. Is pretty crazy. Yeah, it was like a full-out workout because how much I was shaking. But yeah, so I did taste tests between those, and I did it between the Pietro Pro Brew and the multi-purpose brews from the Pietro. And I did some head-to-heads where it was like one was sifted, one was unsifted, both were sifted, both were unsifted, tracked measurements of all of them, and it did about 40, 50 brews in total. But yeah. Have you used your Pulsar since you did the video on it? Got one coming. Wondering if you've learned any more about it since the video. So no, I don't really use the Pulsar much. It's too much faff for me. While it can make some good cups, it can very easily mute aromatics, which is like the #1 reason to drink coffee. And so, you can get great cups from it, and there are a lot of people who absolutely adore it, and that's fantastic. I still just, nothing beats a V60 for me, or a conical brewer. It optimizes aromatics. It gives you stratified extraction, which can give you really unique flavors. Granted, it can also go really poorly if you don't have a good grinder with a V60. So the Pulsar, yeah, I don't really use too much. I did really like my recipe that I posted. And if I do use it, that's what I use. But yeah. That being said, I am tempted to get the Emily version, the NASA one. That one looks fun, mostly for the packaging. I've learned a ton from you, and I appreciate it. I know you don't talk about Onyx much, but what do you like to brew most regularly for espresso? So I don't brew U.S. Onyx, which I'm not going to make the assumption you're from the U.S., but I also am going to make the assumption you're in the U.S. I don't drink the U.S. Onyx because I'm out in Europe and I'm head of quality control for the European Onyx, and we roast differently out here and have different options. So it probably won't be as helpful to you to hear what I do out here, but out here. I'm really banging on like the Kenya Kavote. I mean, it's like the most floral Kenya you can get. It's fantastic. I drink a lot of our decaf red fruits. It's a co-fermented decaf coffee that is wonderful. I drink a lot of our Juan Jimenez Pink Bourbon and Geshes. They're both just beautiful. And we have a really cool natural coffee coming up called, or from the farmer Diego Horta. And it is stupid good. I'm really excited for that to release. And then, of course, we have some Soledades coming up as well, which is exciting. I actually have one right here, a little sample roast of some Pepe. So, and exciting news. I've been talking with Pepe, for you all who know, Pepe Hihon, and he and I will be doing a little tour across Europe, I think early next year. We're planning it. So, going to hop to some shops around Europe. Train around and do like a meet the roaster, meet the producer type deal, which will be fun. How does Femobook compare to Niche? Sorry, relatively new to the hobby. Yeah, no worries. I think it's quite different. I much prefer the Femobook to it. It does good filter. It does good espresso. I like the build of it a lot. The size is much smaller. I really like the Femobook personally. And I think I make a comparison between the two in my video on the Femobook. You can go fact check me on that, or someone in here who's seen it might be able to say, I make a lot of videos, and it's hard to remember exactly everything I do in each one. But I'm pretty sure I do discuss a comparison, though that might be false. But I definitely prefer the Femobook personally. Any chance you have plans to do a deep dive into different PO filter papers, pourover filter papers? I know that's a wild rabbit hole of its own. So I've already kind of like, probably not, and it's because I'm not very like, I feel like it's pretty easy to suss out what's good and what's not great. Essentially, you want the thickest paper you can get without it affecting flow, and you want the most wrinkled paper you can get without it affecting flow and quality of paper, and you want the most even spacing of pores you can get without it affecting the flow through the paper. So essentially what that boils down to, when you put it under a microscope and you take into account the quality, is you have like the Cafec medium dark roast is fantastic. It's honestly my daily driver. The Cafec Arabica is pretty nice. And then the Sybarist is really good. But I mean, Sybarist is so dang expensive. But I would say, like, if they weren't so expensive and so much paper, that's the other thing, is it's a lot of paper. Like that is, though, like the best, all things considered. But the Cafec medium dark is honestly what I use every day. That's within an arm's length at all time. The T90s. I use this, what I use all the time. And I buy them all. I got a wholesale account, and I bought like a shiz ton of these. Not sponsored or anything. They're genuinely my favorite. But yeah. Thoughts on the world's largest decaf tasting? I'm stoked about it. I am so excited that James is giving such a big spotlight to decaf. That is super sick. I bought mine from the roaster in Paris. I think they're called Revelation, maybe. But I bought mine. It's in the mail right now, so I'll definitely be participating. We can do like a Patreon cupping or something if you all want to. Maybe like simulcast it with James's or something. But I'm excited about it. Yeah. What pressure profiles did you use most often with high extraction basket? Sworks design, step down, whatever, and why? Good question. Also, French Coffee Geek, shout out. Are you going to be able to make it to Motors? I'll be at Motors in Paris in 1 week's time. Less than a week. Sorry. Yeah, less than a week. Oh, shiza. The 12th. In 5 days, I'll be at Motors Cafe in the... they post about on their Instagram. So... yeah, if anyone's in or around Paris. And then also for those of you near Frankfurt, Germany, I will be at Holy Cross Brewing Society on December 20th from 11 to like 4 p.m. Anyone near Edinburgh, I'm going to be there, I think January 17th, maybe. So anyway, okay. With the Swark step down, I do lever style shots. I'm pretty old school on it. I've gotten to a point where I don't chase super acidic shots on espresso. I enjoy them, but that's not what I want when I'm just like, I'd like a nice espresso right now. I want something that's really sweet. I want something that has subtle acidity, and I want something that still has its florals about it. And I can get that really well with lever style shots in that 49 millimeter basket. So, like, there are people who want to get like super acidic soup and do like insane coffees where they're grinding super coarse and getting this really thin, like in between, like a Nespresso style espresso. And I'm not as big into that over time. It just it's like fatiguing to my palate. I've just found I really prefer lower acidity, still complex acidity. I want as complex acidity as you can give me, but I don't want it to like burn my mouth off with intensity. So yeah, with that, I usually do something along those lines where I do a fast flow pre-infusion, and then I'll hit 6, 7, or 8 bar, whatever, and then I just kind of let it cascade. Fellow Opus and Hybrew H10A as a starter kit. That's fantastic. In fact, the H10A, like, you can keep for a while if once you get the hang of it. And I would something I want to like really stress. Even these cheap machines that don't have great service, I promise you, most of you out there can have a decent understanding of what's going on inside. There are enough videos on some of these off-the-shelf parts that you can get on and learn about how they work, so you don't have to throw a machine away once something is shorted. Like, everyone should be able to learn how to do small repairs in like replacing a vibratory pump, or checking out O-rings and gaskets, or like little things that are not super difficult. Like if there's a leak, okay, unplug it, let it cool down, open it up, and start to kind of investigate. Or open it up, then repressurize it so the leak appears again, see where it is, note it, then let it cool back down, and go in and see if it's like just a weak O-ring or something. So I do want to say that because Highbrew is one of those companies that like they're pretty new, and you never know where new companies are going to go. That's the thing. You know, like with how quick, with how carnivorous the market is, you never know where a company is going to go. It's usually these, and this is why I like to recommend Breville or DeLonghi or something like that, is they are companies that have been around a long time. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. And so you know that they are going to have the parts. Maybe their customer service isn't great, but now with Europe's, the EU's like right to repair, I know for a fact Breville's arm is being forced to produce their components off the shelf. I know that for a fact. That is an eventuality, an inevitability. And so both them and DeLonghi, you're going to have the right to repair, and you'll be able to find the parts one way or another. So I just want to say that since I was talking about this. The Opus, they should have decent customer service. I hear it's hit or miss. I've never had to deal with it. But the Opus should be fine. And if you got it on the Black Friday deal at $156, that's great. So, and I saw Hybrid did go on a sale on Black Friday. I don't know what it was down to, but like $179 maybe. Opinion on the VS6. I'm tempted to get one, and I'm looking for arguments against it. First off, don't get it. If you're tempted and you don't need, that means you don't need it, because you would be getting it if you needed it. You don't need it. Also, it's an unproven product. When you have this, looking at it, I mean, I'll probably get one, of course. In fact, I need to reach out to Bean Bros in order to get one. But yeah, the thing is, I don't know. Whenever you're switching out the Burrs, like I understand it with the Wug 2, that's like part of its thing, but even still, it's not that expensive for an 80 millimeter grinder, right? So the thing, switching between cone and flats, question is, how often are you going to do it? Are you really going to want to do it once you dial in your coffee and it's really satisfactory and you have a routine? And then like at that point, you're spending like $800 on a small flat burr grinder when you could have spent $800 on a big old boy flat burr grinder. That all being said, I've not tasted it. I've not seen it. I just know that like the VS3 had lots of issues. Even their round 2, there are issues you'll find on Reddit and on different forums where there's just build issues. And so I'm also worried with them doing a much bigger grinder that there could be an issue somewhere along the lines, because you do need a lot more torque with flat burrs than with cone burrs. And if they were having issues with the cone burr grinder, you never know what's going to happen with flats, but that's speculation. What I do know is Tom from Tom's Grinder Lab, or whatever it's called on YouTube. He's a guy, I believe, in Australia who does a ton of grinders and reviews them. And I'm honored to say he has rated the Pietro Pro Brew as a top 3 filter grinder for him, which that's for all the grinders he's had. I was like, oh, cool, thank you. But he also rates the filter focused Burrs from VS6 as a top 3. So apparently they do pretty good filter, but I've yet to taste that. But Tom's apparently got pretty good taste if he aligns with the Burrs I created. You know what I'm saying? Okay. What would you say is the sweet spot for light roast espresso grinder? I don't know what that question means, so I would need you to discuss that more. What water temp was that 30-second extraction at? What 30-second extraction? I'm sorry, I talk so much that my brain just kind of 30-second extraction. I don't know what that one is. I would think a toothpick-shaped particle extracts close enough to particles that are basically that toothpick chopped into diameter width bits. I would think that a toothpick-shaped particle extracts close enough to particles that are basically that toothpick chopped into diameter width bits. Potentially, all about the radius from center. Potentially, yeah, sure. But the thing is none of them are shaped like a toothpick either. It's more that they're long and narrow, not necessarily toothpick, right? So the thing is when you have fines, they are a bit more they're the most spherical you're really going to get, right? When you get down to fine particles, the super fines like 50 microns and things like that, it's as spherical as you're going to get. Nothing is really truly a toothpick. If you look at grounds under a microscope, it is friggin' wild. And so if you modeled it and use toothpicks as, your modeling system, then sure. But it doesn't really look like that. I've posted some microscopic images of grounds on my Instagram somewhere. But that's something else. I mean, I just backed actually on Kickstarter. I backed this microscope that has a fancy little LCD display, and it's supposed to be like super, like really nice. So I backed that, and I'm hoping to be able to use it for more grounds stuff, to look under microscopes, show people more about it. But anyway, currently thinking about upgrading my Barista Pro to dual boiler due to the annoying temperature issue BP has, the Barista Pro. Is this a worthy update in your opinion? Would you recommend the DB over E61 heat exchanger? So first off, I would ask, what is the annoying temperature issue that it has? I've actually done lots of temp testing on these thermojet machines, and they are actually quite good, despite popular opinion. And I think it's just people hating on Breville for the sake of hating on Breville, which I understand. But yeah, I'm actually a big fan of thermojets, not just in Breville's, but because it's just the Pharos heating system. They just trademarked the name or copyrighted the name, whatever term it is. Like it's what's used in the Manument, the big $20,000 lever. It's what's used in the Tone commercial espresso machine they're launching, I think like Q3, Q4 of next year. It's what is used in the Tone coffee brewers and a lot of other things. It's a very, very nice heating element. So, and it's used in the Eureka Pro. So it's an incredibly nice and very capable heating system. So I'm curious what temperature issue you're experiencing. But I mean, yes, I do think the dual boiler would have better temp stability than that, and it definitely has better temp stability than an E61 heat exchanger. Do not make shaking by yourself joke. Do not make shaking by yourself. That one may have gone over my head. Do not make shaking. Is it because I'm shaking? Dirty minds, oh, dirty minds think alike. Come on. In your opinion, what is the effect in cup of very low agitation, pour, mellow drip, etc.? Drawbacks, advantage. So I also did a brewer's cup routine with this years ago. I would use it on my final pours of a brew. Now, here's the thing with the mellow drip and the like low agitation stuff. Whenever the bed is settled and you're using something like that, that is dropping so lightly that it's just kind of filling up on top of the bed, all that's going to happen is the water will go through essentially channels. Okay. Now, when I say channels, I'm not talking about the typical channels that you think of when we discuss channels in extraction theory, but I'm saying there are avenues that are less dense pockets in the bed where the water will go through. Every time you pour the kettle, it upsets the whole bed and it allows water to situate amongst all of those grounds before the bed kind of settles and allows a bit more of a systematic drawdown. Whenever that bed kind of hardens in place because you're not upsetting it anymore, you're essentially getting lots more bypass, and it's like you're bypassing through the puck, slightly through the puck, right? So it can do a great job when you're at the end of an extraction where you don't want to have full bypass. You just kind of want to weaken the coffee a bit while also getting a bit more extraction, especially if you have a hotter temperature at the end, because that can help loosen some of those particles, it can loosen some of the like the volatiles and some of the compounds to come out. But I don't like doing full brews like that. Even Eureka, who has done the mellow drip for every championship he's competed in, which brought him to second in the world, very valid, obviously. Even he didn't do all of his pours through just a mellow drip. He did do every pour through a mellow drip, but at the end of each pour, he would go around the bed to upset it. Okay, so that is a very important thing in order to improve your extraction and to actually get a more full-bodied cup. Otherwise, it'll be pretty weak and thin. But yeah. So that's a quick take on it. Getting a Bambino for Christmas, and was wondering if you had any tips or tricks to get the most out of it. Should I flush group head prior to shots to preheat? Not every shot. Just the first one. Just right when you turn it on, I would flush a little bit. Maybe through the portafilter, get the basket warm. After that, good to go, baby. And just yeet. Does the Pulsar kill aromatics from the immersion part of the brew? Would a switch also do this when brewing with immersion? So it's not necessarily the immersion part of the brew. You can get highly aromatic coffees from immersion. It's more so that people have a tendency to push extraction with it. Because the drawdown is so slow, even with coarser grounds, it just tends to mute. It tends to have a situation where the aromas are muted. And now, if you're brewing really low extractions with really coarse river rocks, kind of like Rohan does, who's in the Patreon, Pocket Science, Pocket Coffee Science, then yeah, you'll get more aromatics for sure. But what I feel like the main use cases is kind of a la Scott Rail, which is finer grounds and really pushing extraction. And with those higher extraction brews, they completely mute the aromas. And if I'm going for a River Rocks brew, I'd rather have a V60 because it's easier. So I will say the best I can do in the Pulsar, I can still get on a V60. For me, the best, okay, let's rephrase that. The best cups of coffee I get on a Pulsar, I can get from a V60, if that makes sense. Maybe I can squeeze more sweetness out of the Pulsar, but the way I brew on the Pulsar to get the coffee cups of coffee I personally enjoy a lot, I'm essentially getting a V60 brew. Okay. It's kind of like when people say, you know, the best cats are ones with dog attributes. Why don't you get a dog? I'm not against cats. Okay. That's just something people would always say growing up, right? It's that idea of like, okay, just if you're trying to get the V60 coffee out of the Pulsar, just get a V60. That's my situation. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay. Burr ranking list win. That would be a very difficult video. Maybe I'll just make an Excel sheet or something when I have some time, or sit down with someone who'll make it as I just talk and verbally like process it. But how's the Philos treating you? Also, when are we getting a vid on it? So it's not a secret. Whenever I get a grinder at the expense of something like the Philos, like I spent 995 euros on it. Okay, so I spent over $1,000 on the Philos. And whenever I spend that kind of money on a grinder or more, I tend to spend, not tend to, I have a rule where I don't spend less than 3 months with that grinder. So whereas kind of the MO of YouTubers, and I'm not calling out coffee, but I'm saying in general YouTubers, whenever there's a new thing dropping, they want the first review on it. It is really nice. And I've had the opportunity to do that in the past, like with the Linea Micra. It is really nice, but even with the Micra, they reached out if I wanted to like have a look at it, and I gave them the rules. I said, "Here's the deal. I want it, but I need it for at least 2 to 3 months of unrelenting use." It's different with espresso machines. I can do like everything on an espresso machine. With grinders, I like having multiple grinders at once. Anyway, so with grinders, I need at least 3 months, and I like to buy whenever I can. I like to buy things like the Philos. I wanted to buy. It's not that expensive. Something like a $5,000 espresso machine. I've said before, I'm more than willing to be loaned that. I still eviscerate and piss people off, as you all know. I've had to ship. It's really awkward shipping a machine back whenever I've said not awesome things about it. It's really awkward when they're like trying to collect it. It's fun. There was actually, I won't say the company, but there was a company who like loaned me something, and they were like, "We're really excited to get you the next product as well." And then I reviewed the product they had sent me, and it was not a good review. And then they did not want to send me the next one, and I was like, "Ah, it is what it is," you know. Don't care. So yeah. But as far as how the Philos is treating me, you'll know in the video. I'll shoot it probably. I'm finalizing tests now. I've had it for almost 3 months at this point. I'll probably shoot it in. I have all the laser data now as well. Jonathan Gagne graphed it for me, so I'll probably shoot it this week sometime. Maybe next because I'm in Paris this week. I don't know. I'll shoot it some point. I might do it this week before I leave for Paris. I don't know. But very soon. It'll be very soon. Did you see the new Cone Sybarist booster? I did. Here's the thing. The booster, I made the video with Matt. I think the booster is good. As I said in the video, and I'm not shy about it, and it may be like an annoying thing for me to say this, but that is not a new idea. Like I had that idea, and I almost made one with Fellow like 3 years ago. And even before me, Jonathan Gagne and home baristas, probably before Jonathan Gagne, were advocating for using a mesh underneath your flat bottom paper filter. So that was what inspired me to do that exact metal with holes in it that Sybaris ended up doing with Matt. I do think it's a good idea for flat bottom brewers. I'm not convinced it does anything great for cones. I'll be honest. I've played around with things like it because Matt's insistence on it, which I love Matt. I'm good friends with Matt. But I'm not as sold on the cone being that big of a deal. That being said, it may be a better thing if you're grinding much more finely than I do. I noticed when Matt came here that we brew very differently. He likes very high TDS, like more bitter coffees than I do, and which is absolutely fine. When he came here, he made a comment after I brewed him a cup of how I brew. He said something like, "You know, I thought I liked high clarity tea-like coffees, but that was before trying coffee from you." I was like, "I'm telling you, I like them tea, baby." I like 1.25, 1.3 max TDS. I like a 19, maybe 20% extraction. I like it floral, clear. I like sweetness. I want it to be sweetness that's driven more so by I don't know. I don't know how to describe it because we don't really know where sweetness is coming from. But I know the distinction between like a big sugar browning sweetness that comes at a higher extraction and like a more light sweetness that's more of a refined sugar sweetness that comes at lower extractions. But anyway, any initial thoughts on the Titus Burrs? They're not ready yet. That's my initial thoughts. And if he wants to, I'd love to chat with him about some angle stuff. I'm going to reach out to him about it, but they're not ready yet. Patreon cupping with the decaf test would be amazing. Let's friggin' do it. Thoughts on the Lagom 65, Lagom Causa 65 versus Femobook. Some of us have been speculating on this since they are pretty in specs, except for the Causa running at 140 RPM and the A68 at 60. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure they're both. I'm sure. I don't know about the bird geometry on the Lagom Causa. I'm not as great in conical bird geometries, like just looking at it and kind of understanding. Even still, it's BS for me to say I'm great at it with flat burrs. I'm just better at it with flat burrs, and that just from experience. But even still, I'm surprised very often I'm wrong. So it's very difficult for me to speculate on that. Now, am I interested in spending the money for Lagom Causa? Not really. Yeah. Ryan Wood. Awesome. I was just about to put away my roaster, but a new Ethiopia Yirgacheffe Wish Wish 96-hour anaerobic natural just got delivered, so I can do a couple of test roasts. Have fun with that. That does not sound like a coffee I would like, but that's the beauty of coffee in this community. You like what you like, and that's it, right? I did brew in a taste test when we were doing the pour over stuff. No, when I was pulling espresso on the Philos and the Zerno with my buddy Rui, who does tasting and testing with me. We pulled a 96-hour anaerobic Ethiopia, and woo, that is a lot, baby. That is a lot. Yeah, that's a lot for me. Pietro favorite color. I love that forest green a lot. Any Germany trips planned? Yes, Frankfurt. I go to Frankfurt. I'll be at Holy Cross Brewing Society December 20th of 2024. So like in 2-3 weeks. Pure curiosity, what is the cheapest machine that you feel something like an EG1 would be worthwhile instead of spending money on the machine? I mean, honestly, if you do a couple of mods to a DeLonghi Stylosa, your EG1 would be great with it. I'm not kidding. When you have that good of a grinder, you just need hot water that is reliable. It doesn't even need to be super consistent. That's reliable, and you need something that can pump pressurized water through it. So you can do a friggin' you could do like a high brew. You could do a friggin' like with these cheaper things, you may want to do some mods, but a Gaggia Classic or no, actually like a Rancilio Silvia Gaggia Classic Pro. I did just get a Rancilio Silvia, by the way, and it's on my shelf. I'm going to Gaggiuinify it. I'm stoked. I have all the parts. I think I had like enough for 2 or 3 Gaggiuinos. But yeah, honestly, you don't need to get like the greatest machine ever. That's how I can't stress this enough. You do not need a super nice machine if you have a super nice grinder. It is nice to have a nice machine. Sure, it is. But what do you need? Something that pressurizes water and makes it hot. It doesn't even be that hot. If you have a great grinder, it doesn't even need to be that hot. Honestly, I'm serious. I know that's like crazy. People are like, "What? You're speaking heresy." Fellow Ode or Opus Gen 1 or Eureka Chrono for pour over. Fellow Ode or Opus Gen 1 or I would do the Fellow Ode out of those options. Are you excited for Nordic Coffee Fest in Gothenburg? Yes, I'm doing Nordic Coffee Fest in Gothenburg. If anyone is in the Nordic countries and want to come out, I'll be a featured speaker there. I'm still not sure what I'm talking about. We're taking votes, I guess, from people on their Instagram page. So you can go and give a topic idea, and I'll talk about anything, and I'll make it sick. Hoping I can make it out. Gothenburg Roasters really impressed me on my last visit. I've never been, so I'm excited. A way to bring Onyx EU to Mexico. Sadly, no. Mexico will be serviced by Onyx US. Maybe in the future, we will open up global shipping. In fact, I'm sure we will. So I shouldn't really say what I just said. Well, I'm sure we will open up global shipping because I think it would although it's silly for people in the States to, pay for transported coffee across the ocean, we are very different from US Onyx. And it's because, I understand brand solidarity and consistency across the board, but also I think it's kind of cool to break the mold and tailor what you're doing, your operation with the same ethics and standpoints and vision as you have in one place to another without having to copy everything, right? Have you heard of the EC155 from DeLonghi? They don't make it anymore, but it's built like the EC3420. Can I PID or Gajuino on it? You probably can't Gajuino. You can do the Gajuino on the Stylosa, but you have to do a lot of mods to it, and you have to rewrite some of the code, and it can't be done with the new V4 Gajuino. And so I would say probably the same as with this other model you're talking about. If it's a single boiler dual use machine, it can work with Gajuino, but you likely will need to rewrite some code so it works better, and you'd have to intuitively do a lot of it. You'd have to have a lot of know-how. There are only 2 people that I know of who have done the Gajuino on the Stylosa, and they had to rewrite some code on the more open, quote unquote, open source codes that were in previous iterations. I can't go in Paris next week. I'm from Nice. Oh, southeast of France. Okay, gotcha. What Burrs would you use on a Sculptor 6.4S if you used it for filter only? I'd probably get the re-released V1 brew Burrs from SSP. So I've not actually gotten them because they're re-released. They're new. But I know, unless everyone in every forum and everywhere is wrong, the way they compare them is to other things that are really nice, high clarity, high fidelity. So I would probably personally, even blindly, that's what I would get. Modded DeLonghi ESP with Renchilla Steam on this week. Did you recommend 1 or 3 holes? I mean, I always say 3 holes. I think it's much faster and easier, but like 1 hole, okay, I should take that back. I think it's easier because it's faster. And so for me, it's like I don't have to pay attention. 1 hole is easier for people starting out with steaming, but if you have steaming in your background, 3 holes better. But also, it's just faster. You know, it is one of those things. I don't think it really matters, though. You're going to get great silky milky as long as your technique is true. What would you say is the best espresso grinder for light, super light beans under $1,500? Well, Zerno is right at that limit. Best grinder for light, super light beans. 1,500 is such an odd range because really you want to get to the bigger Burr range so badly. You really do. And 1,500 is like you're still stuck at 64 for the most part. I guess you could do something like, I mean, not necessarily. You can do the Niche Duo. You can do the DF83V. But the build qualities on those, they're just not to the same spec as something like a Zerno. And so it kind of sucks that there's not like an 80 millimeter $1,500 really nicely built machine. But for light, super light roast at that price point, well, it also depends. If you're doing filter only, are you super against a hand grinder? Because honestly, and I know people can accuse me of bias all they want, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think you can technically call it bias when I created something that is to me the ideal. Like I didn't, and so with Pietro Pro Brew, to me that is an ideal. Like it was at the ideal end when we created it. Now, if I just slapped my name on a product someone else made, that would be bias, of course. But I literally had a vision in mind. I said, we're not releasing it till these objective metrics are hit, and then we released it. So I don't think you can get, like personally, I'm not sure there is a grinder under $1,500 that can beat the Pietro Pro Brew in a cup-to-cup battle. At least I've not been able to find that. And what's funny is people who hate me on Reddit pourover all think the Pietro Pro Brew is the freaking, the bee's knees, which is awesome. I love that. Is there any good reason to change the pin position of my 078 from factory setting? I don't think so. I just received the new VS6 this week, and it's incredibly well made. It's an absolute tank. The dial funnel on the top weighs 3.5 pounds. That's nice. That's great. My issue is not necessarily with the build quality as regards the metal. It's the issue with the last one was like gearbox, was with motor and things like that. That's what I would more so have a fear of. Approved for a commercial use. Oh, that's good. Maybe they really stepped up their the build of it. After you talked about ditting, I noticed my local grocery store had an old commercial ditting grinder for customers to grind whole bags. Should I try to single dose it and pull a shot at home? LOL. It ain't clean. I would not. I mean, I think you're probably being memes right now, but if you're not, that thing ain't clean. It's going to taste like nasty. Maybe you can try and buy it from them and replace a grinder, and then you'll have a ditting with massive burrs that you could mod out and do like something fun. Modern versus traditional espresso. Are you making it differently or just roast level? Largely, it is roast level. So for me, I'm never making a traditional espresso with a modern coffee. It doesn't taste good. Because when I think of traditional espresso, what I'm thinking of is a roughly 1 to 2, 1.5, 1 to 2.5 type of recipe that's running in like 30 seconds. You're wanting it really thick. And with a modern light coffee, those don't taste good. When I'm thinking modern espresso, or when I think of modern coffee, I'm thinking you've got to push the extraction a bit. Granted, you can do more traditional styles if you have grinders. Like, a lot of people rave about the Cafetech Shuriken Burrs, like the SSWs and the LMs that can do really short shots because, and they do them pretty well. But even still, for me, that the like, I don't know, it doesn't mesh well together. I do like doing it. It's fun, and sometimes they do taste pretty good. But across the board, for me, it's largely a roast level thing. When I have a darker roast, I want a traditional style shot. But when I say traditional, I'm thinking traditional lever. I never do flat 9 bar. Flat 9 bar has the smallest window of decent, and I don't want to be aiming for decent as my max. I've yet to see a negative opinion on it. Let's see on Aaron. Oh, on the VS6. Well, you know what that means. I'm going to come in with the hammer. No, not really. On it, my only gripes with it is the ecosystem lock-in and it not being a horizontal auger-fed machine. I love the idea of swapping burrs on the fly. Yeah, cool. Do you think there's a merit in using baskets that don't have the highest flow so you could grind coarser, similarly to robot basket? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can definitely make the like have a basket with smaller holes or less holes or something like that in order to grind even coarser. Use a pressurized basket and have fun with that. Sure, absolutely. Lance, your room looks like an army of zombie grinders is about to take over. It's honestly like that. That's how it be sometimes. Okay. Have DF64 V8 V2. I'm probably more like Matt. Favor bitterness. What burrs would you suggest? I dislike acidity but love sweetness. You have a DF64 V2. Honestly, their DLC coated stock burrs are pretty nice for that. But if you feel the need, which again you don't need it, instead maybe try different beans. Use your budget for that. Trust me, that will 9.9 times out of 10 be the right answer. Is getting better beans. But if you need something, need it. Like you go to sleep at night thinking, I really need a new burr set. And you're distracting you at work and all that stuff. Which actually that's fine. If it distracts you at work, who cares? Then maybe like the Lab Suite from SSP, or maybe like the LeBrew. They have I can't remember what the model's called. Do some nice 64 options. But yeah, I mean, you only need it. Highlights with filter. Which filter do you mineralize your water pre or post brewing? Oh, with filter, do you mineralize your water pre or post brewing? Does demineralized water in a kettle do as much damage as an espresso machine? No, it does not do as much damage in an espresso machine. I would not recommend doing it all day, every day, because it can eventually leach some of the ions from the lining of the kettle. So I probably wouldn't do it all the time. But no, I always use pre-mineralized with the kettle, to be honest with you. Sometimes I may add more after, because I usually use very soft water down to like overall 40 ppm. So if I ever feel like I need a little more oomph, it's like you're spiking your drink with minerals. Then yeah, I may do that. Espresso, I always post mineralize. I will use Pavlos water in the espresso machine, then I post mineralize. Appreciate all you do. What's the best way to learn about burrs, particularly what I want from them? Upgrade burrs versus upgrade grinder versus new hand grinder. Currently Ode 2 and K6. Well, let's just talk about Ode 2 and K6. So your Ode 2 has a really high limit or a really high ceiling of potential. So you have a lot you can do with that with different burrs. And with Gen 2, the burr alignment is much better, or the burr alignment potential is much better. They have a lot better fittings, a lot cleaner fittings in there. With the K6, great hand grinder. It's about as good as you're going to get underneath the ZP6, for instance. The K6 is giving you a flavor profile most akin to like the Q2 Heptagon or the K series. A little bit better even than the Comandante, in my opinion, for clarity. So it really depends on what you are looking for. The only real reason to quote unquote upgrade is if you have a buyer for your other machines, so they don't go to disuse. And if you're like really, really, looking for that last bit of a few more percentage points, right? The EG1 Stylosa comment was kind of curious at what point something like a Bambino would be a bottleneck. Yeah, no, Bambino, listen, if you got an EG1 and Bambino, you're going to make great Spro. I've done that a lot. Honestly, I did that a ton before I moved out here to Europe because I'd packed most everything up and I still had a Bambino on my counter. And the EG1 I was packing up in an not Otterbox, that's for a phone, Pelican case. And so I was doing loads of EG1 shots on the Bambino with my dimmer. It was great. I loved it. It does a great job. People don't know how to brew coffee if they're complaining about a Bambino, unless it doesn't work. I'll soon have my Pietro Pro brewing. Do you think it's outstanding right out of the box or only after being seasoned? So I'll be honest. The DLC coated ones need a wee bit of seasoning. Probably you'll start really getting stellar coffees, 5 to 10 kilos, but you'll get really good coffees right out of the box. Don't get me wrong, but you'll see fines production go down. That's just the long and short of it. Pietro does not preseason their burrs. They do create them in house, but they don't preseason, and so they come very sharp. So they do need to dull a bit. Where do you see the future of the 1K to 1.5K grinder market for espresso going? Bigger burrs, blind burrs, quieter motors. All of those, definitely. I think DF is really, in the Chinese market in general, the Chinese factories in general are really pushing the price point down. And I think it's making other people realize, oh, we might need to rethink our pricing scheme. Whether or not, I don't know. I know how some companies work that are in expensive areas. And sometimes there really isn't that much green to go around. There's not much margin to really play with, but in other situations there is. And so it's really difficult to know. And honestly, a lot of I don't know. It's difficult to say, but I do think we will have some really nice options. We're always going to have luxury options. We'll always have the Titus, the Weber, the Cafetech, the Option-O. We'll always have those luxury options, and I don't think they're ever going to change their price. But I think they're going to be competitors coming out that are going to make very reasonable grinders at that range. Whether or not they're built to the exact spec is up to debate, but yeah. Oh, lug is only a bit more than 1500. There you go. I did not realize that. So the person asked about 1500. Look into the Wug. I actually really like the Wug too. I think it does a great job. Yeah, so I take it all back. I thought that was closer to 2000. So my apologies. Wug 2 for sure. I'm in the market for a new espresso machine. I had an ECM Synchronica, previously sold Old House and left it. Well, that was a nice housewarming gift. I'm looking for something same or better. Recommendations. It depends on a lot of things, right? Well, what is your style of coffee? What is your budget? What is your aesthetic? What is your preference on when it comes to the style of machine? Do you want more tech, less tech? What is it? Between a narrow flat bottom like Oreo and larger on like April, what is the taste profile difference? Honestly, I've never been a big fan of the April dripper, the taste profile coming out of it versus the Oreo. The deeper the bed, the better. The more shallow the bed, the worse for me. And I've also noticed, and I think Gagne argues this actually, that a more shallow bed, you're going to get more channeling. And that is, at least in taste, that has been my hypothesis as well. I like deep beds. That's why, for instance, I brewed tonight my 10-gram dose in this little bad boy. So, I don't like wide flatbeds. Like that's another issue with the next level Pulsar is like at the minimum you want 20-gram dose at the minimum, and that's like pushing it. Yeah, even better would be a 25 or 30-gram dose in that. They made it way too wide. I wish they would make it more narrow, like an AeroPress, or just a bit bigger than an AeroPress. So thoughts on flow rate for Sprover? Oh, wait. What is your typical recipe for modern espresso? Probably, I love the Extractamundo dose. I think it's great. I believe that was Joe D who created that profile. It's very, very good. I really like, I like just, blooming turbos, which is very similar to Extractamundo dose. I like, if you dial in a really nice Allonge, a Rayo Allonge, they can be really nice, but it only works with some coffees. But I like those a lot. They're also a bit bigger. And a much more watery, which I really like. I like a lower concentration. So much bigger ratio, 1:5, where you keep a 4 milliliter a second flow rate throughout the whole extraction. Does like a natural pressure curve. I like that. Thoughts on flow rate for Sprover? Have been using 1.5 mils a second. Feel the results are pretty good. What flow rate do you prefer? I actually go up to like 3.5 mils a second and let it just yeet all over the place. Whatever happened to the LH branded modded Breville dual boiler? Was that ever intended to be available? So it's very confusing. So we did that initially. We did that as like how at car shows they'll bring out concept cars, but they never actually are intended to see the market. With this one, it was never supposed to see the market. But then I tried to convince them to let it see the market, and it seemed like they were, planning on doing that, and then it didn't, and it's not happened. And I don't really know. I've never been told yes or no after it sounded like it was going to. So who really knows? Not me, sadly. And all I know is we made 2 of them. We made the white and gold one. Did I do that? The balloons that just came up. Did anyone else see that? Can you do hearts too? I don't know. I look like an idiot. So I don't know. There were two though, a black on black and then a white on gold, gold on white, whatever. And now the white on gold is stationed in the Breville Redondo Beach HQ, and the other one is in their Sydney HQ. Thanks for the answer on the VS6 meant to add, I'm espresso only. I like flavor separation, but not crazy acid harshness. Okay, espresso only. You like flavor separation. Honestly, for you as well. I mean, honestly, I'm telling you, those DLC coded stock ones are good with flavor separation. If they do a good job, they really do. I would not recommend multi-purpose. Maybe you could do the lab sweets like I recommended someone else. That would be good if you really wanted to buy something. But again, I don't think you need to. There's another pair of 64. Oh, no, that's not much flavor separation, so never mind. I have the impression that my 078 produces more fines lately. I've tried different coffees and RPM, but my 15 gram V60 brews at 6 grind size take longer and taste a bit harsh. Just, I wouldn't worry about RPM, first of all. Just go coarser. It could be that your coffee's aging. So if you're using the same coffee that tasted good a week ago and it's not now, it could be that it's aging and they can get more bitter. Not that they're getting more bitter, but because when you're extracting, there's not as much to extract as it ages with the oxidation and everything else. So it could have a higher perception of bitterness. You also may need to clean it out. I don't know. That can happen as well sometimes. Maybe the water content it has shifted if you use tap or something, or if you use like Brita and your Brita filter may be going on, or whatever filter. There's a lot of things that could be going on. What do you use for water? RO distilled. I have two things. On one side of my sink, I have a heavy carbon filter that strips a lot out, and then I add some magnesium to it to about 80 overall ppm, and that actually reminds me I'm really thirsty. I'm gonna grab some water. If I can find a daggum cup. Oh, they're right there. So about 80 overall ppm with a lot of magnesium. And then you go to the other side of the sink with the little thing that actuates it. The other side's RO. So I do have RO on one side. Oh. Woo, that's nice. Okay. Which 58 millimeter basket do you think is the closest to the robot's basket? I love how easy it was to pull good shots on the robot. Well, there's more to it than just that on the robot. You also have water directly in contact with it immediately when you pour the water on. So you're getting like a really nice immediate saturation, which helps lead to a nice even extraction. You also have a piston that's pushing down as opposed to a pump in a machine, which is going to give you, I've just noticed a better consistency with that, and the taste of the espresso makes it more forgiving. But also that really heavily tapered part of the robot basket is going to help with consistency. So I don't know, you could get something like a tapered IMS basket, and it should do pretty decently. Wug is like 2K once you get Burrs. That's what I was remembering. Just want a nice machine under 4K. I make lattes mostly. Just want a nice machine under 4K. I make, shoot, if you make lattes mostly, you don't need to spend close to 4K. Jeez Louises. You could do something like, let's see, what would be a really nice option under. Honestly, you could get away with like a Profitec Go, well built. It's only single boiler, but you don't have to steam and brew at the same time. It doesn't eat up as much electricity. It's a much smaller form factor. Save a lot of money, buy a really nice coffee, or give it to a producer. You know what I mean? But I mean, I'm just trying to think. What would be? I mean, if you're making mostly lattes, you don't like. I still would not. Well, if you wanted to get an E61 because temp stability wouldn't be as big of a deal with lattes, you could get a nice E61 that's built and will last forever, and you can reuse parts when you're done with coffee or whatever. But you could do something like that. Granted, they suck a lot more energy in order to get up to heat and maintain the heat, but they sure as heck won't be filling any landfills. Speaking of Chinese MFG, after 3 days of using it, I think the Barsetto E6 Air delivers for the price. Not flawless, but a manufacturing MFG, but a great upgrade for me. Had no single dose before. Great, I've seen that. I've not used it, but it looks cool. Little birdie tells me that a narrow pulsar is on the way. Oh, thank goodness! I've been asking about it. Ugh. Any basket Rex for 49 pre-mill Europiccolo with a rough max dose of 14 grams. 49 mils, I mean, Sworks has one, but honestly, let's see, what do I have? I have like 6 baskets for the 49. I don't know what brand they are, though, I'll be honest. I really dig on the mesh-based one, which is currently in my Streetman, but these don't have branding on them. This one's an IMS. Oh, and this has mesh. The IMS Competizione B582TH22SF. I really like that. It's got like that mesh. Let's get the light on it. There you go. It has a mesh on the bottom. Does a really nice job. I like it. I like this a lot. It's probably my go-to. Garnier said on IG post they work on a more narrow Pulsar. Oh, very good. Thoughts on UFO dripper and Sworks dripper? UFO, you have that issue as well with the other thing is it has a wider bed. They have V6 is here. It's like that. So when you have to fill more of a dose, which is a little annoying for me, but I think it's a cool dripper. For the R. Pavlis recipe, is it important to use only potassium bicarbonate? Yes, it's important to use only potassium bicarbonate if you want to avoid both corrosion and scale. SSP multipurpose. Do they have a smaller window for espresso compared to trad? Yes. I put them on the Barsetto before trying it stock burst, so can't compare directly. Yes, there's a smaller, more narrow window. Actual purchase question. Looking for a sub 1K grinder for espresso only, mostly flat whites. Drink mostly US Onyx, but my favorite cups are from Solid State Coffee in New York City. Okay. Now for looking for sub 1K for espresso only, mostly flat whites. Honestly, does it need to be single dose? Because honestly, guys, I don't talk about it a lot because I'm such a single dose person. But like, if you are someone that drinks lattes, caps, and like you're going through a decent amount of beans, listen, the Eureka Specialita makes some dank espresso for milkies and thick shots. Here's the thing. People have been freaking out about the daggum niche for so long that they kind of threw the baby out with bathwater. They kind of forgot about their Eureka Specialita, which makes such better espresso than the niche for traditional espresso. And listen, I actually really like traditional espresso. Over the years, I went from not liking coffee at all to only liking really natural boozy coffees to only liking super light, like ultra light coffees that are very floral, to where now I want only the lightest of the light coffees, all right? Like we roast so freaking light at Onyx EU. It's kind of like I'm always fighting under roasting. Sometimes we'll get a straight up cornmeal roast and I have to be like, crap, I went too far on that. But I also now have opened up this trap door where I also like darker, more caramelized coffees. If they're roasted well, you can roast darker roasts well, where I want like a thick shot sometimes, a chocolatey syrup bomb, right? So I just ordered some Saka beans from Italy. Ryan Lee, the leverhead out of the US who collects vintage levers, he apparently loves them. He talks about them all the time. And so I was like, I'll try them out. So I bought a few kilos that should be coming next week. But yes, my preference is still ultralight coffees. But you know, I like dark stuff sometimes, and I'm telling you, Specialita crushes at those dark style shots way better than like any cone at any of those price points can. So if you want texture city, the Specialita is your boy. All right. The balloons pop up is from Mac, but it has a cooldown. I don't know how that happened though. Balloons. Okay. How do you feel about the 49 millimeter craze that is going on, Lance? Still bullish on it? Also curious if you tried the convex basket from Sworks. It is a little fun. Like I love 49. That's why I made my video. And like without, you know, I don't want to, you know, I think some of the craze has been because I kind of, you know, I tend to get really excited about things. And I think my enthusiasm is a bit contagious. But I am very excited about the craze, and people are seeing the way, the truth, and the light with it, which is fantastic. Yeah, so I love Swarks' basket, and he's also sent me some other mods, but he's working on a really cool mod I'm super stoked on. It's not going to be affordable, of course not, it's Swarks, but I'm really excited about it. I mean, Streetman's the only thing I pull espresso on when I'm doing it for myself, to be honest with you. 100%. It's the only thing I pull espresso on. I freaking love them. What I want is a 49 millimeter spring lever machine that is modern. something that heats up really quickly, is beautifully built. That's what I want. I have old vintage levers, but I don't like using those because I want them to just like be pieces of art. I use them sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I do, but I don't want it to be like a daily driver because they're already 60 years old. I want to have a modern, like a La Pavoni, but spring lever. You know what I'm saying? I have a Ponte Vecchio on the way, so I'm excited to play with that. Quite excited. I can't get a handle on Femobook versus DF83 verse V verse et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, I'm not sure what that means. Pre-wet, negotiate, and dry pour over filter for later, or wet just before brewing. I wet just before brewing, but it's because I can't be hassled to have foresight. But also, if you wet and then let it dry out, it kind of comes off of the brewer. I like it as suction to that brewer as possible. How do you feel about the 49 mil? Oh, yeah, I already did that. Yeah, you can do balloons, hearts, fireworks, etc. on a Mac. Throw up 2 peace signs for confetti. Oh, very cool. Well, can we do the heart then? Maybe I need like a. Maybe it needs like a solid black background. Nice. Okay. What birds do you have in your EG1? Do you ever use core? Core is great. Core also makes really luscious espresso. Not to the thickness of like a specialita, but it's very luscious espresso. In fact, I think the core burrs are very similar to EK43 stock burrs. So they give you really nice brightness, a nice acidity, but they give you good body and a really good sweetness. In fact, I've seen laser particle data, and the particles at least are very similar to the EK burrs, but particle data gives us only so much. What do I have in mind, though? I usually keep the ULFs in it. I really think more focus should be put on finding beans we like or focusing on different coffees or experiences, but perhaps it's because I'm happy with my equipment. Yes, this is correct. So here's the thing, though. Excitement is what drives the coffee industry. Excitement. And so for some people, it's finding new beans. For some people, it's other things. But you still have to have coffee in order to do it. Now, I do really want people to always be buying, like, to use more and more of their budget for beans as opposed to gear. 100%, no questions asked. But once you lose excitement, then you just stop caring, and that's when people will be like, "Well, I'm just going to drink a Keurig or a friggin' gross coffee," and that's what I don't want to happen. So, also, with progress in the industry, you have progress all over, and or at least I hope so. But yes, absolutely, buy good beans. Do your research on the beans, on the roasters. See if they are giving prices. And right now, just so you all know, so you are empowered, the commodity price of coffee right now is at an all-time high. It's over $3 a pound. And what's happening is a lot of specialty roasters are freaking out about it because they had been advertising for so freaking long that they are way above commodity. We're 3 times more than commodity. Well, commodity used to be $1 a pound, and just a few years ago, it dropped below $1 a pound. And so people could advertise we're 3 times commodity price, and they were patting themselves on the shoulder. Now commodity is $3 a pound, what they were paying just a few years ago and likely still paying today. And now they're freaking out because they can't advertise that they're paying better in commodity. And in fact, they're going, crap, we can't get the coffees we were getting because Nestle can go in and buy containers of coffee at more than I'm willing to pay. So why wouldn't farmers sell to Nestle and get all of their coffee sold in one transaction at the same price a specialty roaster is going to pay? That's stupid. Of course, the farmer's going to take the bulk pay upfront from a massive company. In fact, I can't remember what company it was, but some company just committed to like dozens and dozens and dozens of containers from Brazil at over $3 a pound. That is huge. That is huge. Okay. Incredible. So definitely look at what your specialty roasters are paying. And if they're still not, if in 2024 they're still not beating commodity price, find another roaster that is. I'm saying it now. That was I don't know, a gesture I just made up. Jared, with the super hard Nordic roasted beans, 49 millimeter makes espresso easier. Yes, it makes it incredible. I love it. But even without those, it makes dark roast incredible. Deep beds, baby. Okay. A question I haven't seen answered anywhere. Is static buildup and related cling improved or worsened by lower RPM? So honestly, with lowered RPM, you're likely going to see more spray, but that's less because there's more static buildup and more because it's just separated. So when it's separated, the static has more of a visible effect on it, right? Oh, nice. I was doing massive updosing on 58 millimeters to do the same 26 plus gram doses, and now they're going to do the full switch to 49 millimeter setup. I'm telling you, it's the best, and it's because it's the depth. You want that bed depth in a puck, and with the pour over, that is one of the secrets to delicious, consistent coffee. I'm not saying you're not going to get great coffee from thin pucks. You can absolutely. You can get delicious coffee. But I find a deeper sweetness and a much better consistency from deeper pucks, and you can replicate it on a 58 millimeter portafilter, but it takes a lot more coffee than I'm wanting to go through in one shot of espresso. I don't want a 30-gram freaking puck of espresso. I want a 15-gram puck with the same depth as 30 grams in a 58 millimeter basket, right? Okay. You, which would you take, the Hybrew or the Turin Legato V2? Probably the Turin Legato V2 between those two options, but I would prefer a Rancilio Silvia or a Gaggia Classic Pro out of all four options. You mentioned watching Jeff Nippard. What's your strength training routine? I do push-pull legs, rest. Push-pull legs, rest. Push-pull legs, rest. Normally, I have a push one, pull one, legs one, and then a push two, pull two, legs two, and then start all over. And then I'll do a cycle of it. Yeah, that's what I do. And I watch a lot of Eric Bugenhagen as well because he cracks me the F up. Any 58 millimeter baskets you recommend that tapered inward to create depth over width? I'm not really sure of any. I don't know. It's hard for me to visualize that. Thoughts on Swark Stripper? I like it, but it's too much faff. I'm telling you, anything that's more faff than one crease on a V60 filter paper and tossing it in, I'm not really using. Honestly, I really don't. Wait, is US Onyx dark always considered at lighter side of medium? No, it's not dark. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying Onyx EU is stupid light, is what I'm saying. Okay. Onyx US is, in fact, a lot of it is quite light. In fact, nowadays, this year, we've been really pushing light in the US. And now we're like, I would say, unless you're getting our blends, our single origins are properly light right now in the US. We've gone, our head of coffee has been pushing us lighter and lighter, essentially month to month this whole year, because we're switching fully to Loring's. And one of the reasons is because we wanted to be able to roast lighter while the coffee still tastes really developed. On a Diedrich going really light, it just didn't work as well. And so, yeah, we're going lighter and lighter there as well. But over here, we're just stupid light. I can't stress that enough. How do you approach dark roast shots? Ratio, temp, etc. Dark roast shots, 1-to-2 ratio or less, probably less. A long pre-infusion, probably 85 to 88 degrees Celsius, and tapered pressure or tapered flow. Hesitant between Argos with step down 49 or La Pavoni. What's your thoughts? See, that's really hard. I really love the Argos. I really love the La Pavoni. You're going to get much better temp stability with the Argos because they have a really cool, complex temperature system in there, code with which they wrote. It's incredible, but it's 58 mils. And I prefer 49. So even with all the faffing of a La Pavoni, I would probably choose the La Pav personally. It also has such a cool community around it. Seriously. I love buying a machine that has a cool community, and the La Pav group is freaking 60 years old. Like, people use it for 60 years. Freaking John Lennon got a La Pav. Like, everybody's got a La Pav. I mean, it's just cool. You're part of history with it. But I love the Argos as well. I think it's great. I just wish they would have done a teeny tiny little baby basket. Why spring lever over direct? I like the repeatability and I like the descending pressure curve. I'm doing with direct, I do it anyway. I'm mimicking a spring with my direct 9 times out of 10. So I would prefer to just get a spring. I can pull it down, let it steam pre-infuse. I'd like a closed boiler is my preference. You can do open boiler ones like the Papina, great. But I would prefer a closed boiler where I can get steam pre-infusion and then just let go and let the spring do its thing. I'm gonna make a shirt. Let the spring do its thing. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Femobook versus DF83 comment was following up to 1K. Oh, okay. Yeah, ran out of characters. Gotcha. Okay. Is fellow Opus okay for dark roast? It's okay for dark roast. Fellow Opus is okay for dark roast. Not great, but it's okay. You're going to get better dark roast shots out of like an old school Bratz Encore, not the new one, or at that price point, what? I mean, it'll do fine. It'll do fine for dark roast. Honestly, the Smart Grinder Pro would do better. Smart Grinder Pro does a good job with dark roast coffee. It does. Proper. It does. Do you still use your Swartz dripper? Not really. Just V60 mostly. How do Eureka and Kono? I still use Kono a lot as well. How do Eureka Burrs compare to Mazzer SSP options? I think Eureka Burrs compare to Mazzer options. I don't think they compare to SSP for me. Mazzer and Eureka both really heavily. They do all their testing and stuff with dark roasts, and they're not my favorites. Top 5 coffees this year. That's really hard, but I would probably go with the Sebastian Ramirez White Honey Geisha. Oh, you're such a sweet boy. I don't know about you, but I love dog smell. I'm smelling her. I'm petting him with my foot. I'm sorry if that's weird, but he's down here laying and it's really cute. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay. I'll definitely say that. I would probably say. Oh, I really liked one of the Picky Chemist coffees. Which one was it? It was I think it was the honey processed Ethiopia Gesha Village. I think that was it. Also really liked. I can't think of any right now. So we'll continue that later. I'm really feeling like super precise bean weights are less important than water ratio or other features. So I'm guessing single dose for simplicity of grind by weight. Thoughts? Yeah, absolutely. Single dose is great. Why do lighter roasts tend to be more acidic? Like what compound dyes in Folgers for it to sit so much better in the stomach? So that's actually not the case. There's just as much acidity in a Folgers as there is in light roast. It's just the presentation is different. So it's not any different. Chemically, it's not. And that's actually a myth that we busted in my Mythbuster video with Samo Smirke. You can go watch it if you need to hear a PhD in chemistry say the same thing. But yeah, same amount of acidity. It is. You say you prefer higher bed depth. I really struggle to make my 30-gram V60 taste as good as the 15-gram. I think there is too much coffee, not necessarily bed depth. So I don't think it's the bed depth causing the issue. I think it's the amount of coffee, and so it makes it really difficult. So I agree with that. I think in a V60, you can get too much coffee for sure. So yeah, I think there are limits to the amount you can brew. Like for instance, you could do. Obviously, there's limits, right? Because like in this, I could fill it up to here and say I have the most bed depth, but then it's not. That's way too much coffee. I think 30 grams in a pour over is too much. I never, ever, ever do more than 22 grams. I'll sometimes push it with 25, but it never tastes that great. So I don't think it's about the bed depth there. I think it's about the geometry of the dripper times the mass of coffee in there. So yeah. There's a window where you should go where bed depth is optimal. Because obviously, my thing about bed depth is not unlimited bed depth. Like you could make a basket this long and fill it up this much with coffee. I think it's going to taste crap in an espresso machine. I'm saying there's a window. I don't think 58 millimeters hits the window, right? I don't think a V60 hits the window for a 10-gram dose, right? This hits the window for a 10-gram dose. So there's a window of bed depth. Right now, I'm just, being in extremes because we don't have the window available. I recently bought a Kaleido M10 Pro roaster. Recommendation for best place to get green beans. Probably Sweet Maria's. I'm a certified personal trainer. Don't do it for a living and a longtime fan of Nepard. So I love seeing him mentioned here. I love it when my hobbies cross over. Oh, nice. That's sick. Someone picture one day and decided to do something about it. Up to a 1 rep max of 405 on bench. When I started, I couldn't lift 135. Very nice. Lost 80 plus pounds while I was at it. Nice. I just hit 40 pounds. I don't do maxes because I don't want to hurt myself. I'm getting old. 33, I don't want to hurt myself, but I did. Let's see. I think the most I've put on the bar has been like I did 275 for, I think it was like 8 reps or something. When I was doing reps of 8, I did 2 or 3 sets of that. So I don't know what I could do in a 1 rep, but I refuse. I decided I'm not going to go over 275, at least not for a while. I only started working out 6 months ago in May, however many months ago that was. So I don't want to hurt myself, essentially. But yeah, so I don't know what I could do. In fact, I don't know. Even when I worked out a ton in high school and college, I never knew what my 1 rep max was. I always did a 2 rep max, and my most ever was a 345 2 rep max. So I never got to 405. Maybe at 345 twice, I could have gone like 355, 360. But right now, 275. I think it was 2 or 3 sets of 8. I think the third set I got like 5 actually. So it was like 2 sets, 8, and a set of 5. That's the most I've done. Most I was comfortable doing. But mostly what I've been doing now is even more a la Nepard and Mike Israetel is mostly I'm doing even less weight now. And really slow eccentrics, slight pause, explode up really slow. I'm going down to like 225 and doing sets of 10 to 12 with a really slow eccentric. Get that really big stretch at the bottom, then bang. And it feels good. And I'm not scared of getting hurt. That's the greatest. I don't want to get hurt. Loring has really done some special. All the roasters I know are switching to Loring's. Any thoughts on this? Loring's good. I think I'm on the Typhoon train now, though. I love Typhoons. Full fluid bed, a closed system, super fast roast, really efficient. And if you dial it in well, if you don't dial it in, it tastes like crap. If you dial it in well, it tastes incredible. And I'm really high on it. And French Coffee Geek can talk to it. He's been really loving the Onyx roast that I've been dialing in. So we actually have someone in the chat who can talk to, as someone that uses it in their shop, how they're tasting. I'll buy a spring lever shirt. Oh, heck yeah. Now I forgot the phrase. Pull that spring, let it do its thing, something like that. I don't know. Chinese coffee chain Luckin Coffee agreed to purchase 240,000 tons of Brazilian coffee beans over the next 5 years. That's what it was. Thank you, John. You're always PDX Veloce. You are always a legend for doing that. Thank you. Thank you. That's what it was. And it was at the price of the $3 a pound. So I don't want to hear specialty roasters complaining about $3 a pound when you have freaking Luckin Coffee buying that much and agreeing to, that's like agreeing to a 15% mortgage rate over 5 years when you could wait a year, live in an apartment an extra year and have it go back down to 5 or 6%, right? That's just crazy. Any conversion kits exist to convert a 58 to 49 would be sweet mod video. Yes, Swarks is making one. It's just going to be crazy expensive. I'm sure it is. I can't say for sure, but knowing Swarks, he makes things to such a high degree of quality that it's probably going to be crazy expensive. What are your feelings on the 9 Barista? No space for a machine, but recently got one and wondering what you think. It actually does a great job. I should make a video on it, but every time I think about making a video on it, someone else makes a video, which is really funny. So like recently I was considering doing a video, which is why, I'm sorry, there's coffee on the ground, which is why it's sitting right here. Okay. But then Morgan, my friend Morgan Drinks Coffee, made a video on it. I was like, oh, I'll wait a little bit. I don't like saturating the YouTubes. Sorts makes them expensive. Yeah. Oh, only for expensive machines. Oh, gotcha. Sniff the Paw is so good. Oh, they're like cheesy. It's weird. Your Sebastian Ramirez White Honey is really amazing. There we go. So for a nice pineapple sweetness. Lagom P64, Zerno Z1, or Bite the Bullet for Wug 2. Honestly, if those are, I would definitely roll up P64. Zerno, I think, miles and above it. But personally, if I'm choosing one grinder, I'm biting the bullet on the Wug 2. I don't talk about it that much, but it's because it's at that weird price point. And it's normally people are like, should I squeeze up and save for the Zerno, or like, blah, blah, blah. Or they're saying, oh, I'm thinking between the EG1 or the Monolith. So it's like in that weird price range that I don't ever really get the opportunity to talk about it, but I do really like the Wug 2 a lot. Or wait to see new things come to market. You could also do that. That's always a great option, especially if you've something that's making good coffee now, and just use your money now for good coffee. Is there a big specialty scene in Porto? No, but it's building. Does Onyx have a facility there? No. Or you just like it there and are able to work while living there? Yes. And I love the people here. Opinion on the new Belka Portal product. I have backed it on Kickstarter. I have their portafilter version. Why is everything within an arm? Well, that just is a testament to how small my studio actually is. I have their portafilter version, which measures electroconductivity, which is right here. So this is the Belka portafilter. But yeah, so I backed it. I'll get one for pour-overs. I'm excited about it. I've backed a few things on Kickstarter. I backed the Meraki, so I'm waiting for that to come in. I backed some new basket that someone's making. I don't even remember what the thing about it is. But there's some basket on Kickstarter that I backed. Yeah. Eskimo Bomb, the main chemical compound of coffee is citric acid. What happens is the dark roasts have a higher percentage of bitter compounds, so they cover up the sour acidity. There you go. Thank you, Elliot. Do you think slow feeding on the 078 makes a significant difference? I wouldn't say significant, but there is definitely a perceptible difference. The calculated 1 RM for 275 times 8 is 342. Very nice. Oh, cool. There we go. I'll take it. I'll take it. 342. Let the spring do its thing. That's it. Let the spring do its thing. What is the unique selling point of Onyx EU from other EU roasters? I mean, our coffee is, well, I mean, what's the unique selling point of any roaster out here, right? So obviously my argument would be, I mean, it's hard for me. Here's the thing. I don't want to sit here and sell Onyx on my YouTube, right? I'll bring up that I work with Onyx, that I do QC, but I don't feel comfortable, trying to sell Onyx, which I feel like if I talked about this, it would be like a sales presentation. I don't know. I feel weird doing that. So yeah, I am proud of what I do at Onyx as far as like the roasting, I do quality control. That's why I have sample boxes everywhere. I cup every batch we roast every week. So I'm proud of that. Love it, but I'm not going to make like a sales pitch. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to think that you're like trying to bait me into it, but anyway, any reason not to do a dimmer mod on an old Nova Simonelli Oscar HX machine? HX is a little difficult. I probably wouldn't dimmer mod on HX because you're going to have water just staying in that brew tube getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter until it comes out. And that's not ideal, yo. My phone's dying and it's my hotspot and my YouTube chat. I just have the jankiest setup here. Don't you love it? I got to balance it on my... Maybe a decanter is heavy enough to let it balance. Aha! Sitting on an EK43 lid in a decanter on the plug, tension against a Zerno. What's more Lance than that? Okay. If Sheldon's Works makes a 49mm conversion for the silver or GCP, I'll snap up a couple. I'll tell him. Actually, I'm 100% going to tell him because I would love the Gajuino with the step down or the Ranchilio with the step down. I'm going to tell him, and he may do it. Wug 2, and especially if he can do it at a decent price point, I think a lot would buy it. Wug 2 over Zerno surprises me with how you've spoken about both. So here's the thing. I do love the Zerno a lot. Okay. And I think it makes incredible coffee. And I love the build. And I think the build quality is incredible. I think that the tolerances and the alignment out of the box is incredible. But I've never, ever been shy about the higher potential bigger Burrs can give you. And 80mm Burrs, especially the fact that Lug 2 can carry blind 80mm Burrs, is massive. You slow feed that bad boy with big old Weber ULFs, and you essentially have a budget EG1. That's the dirty little secret, is the Wug is like a budget EG1 and a budget HG2 rolled up into one grinder. All right. You get Mazzer 83mm cones, and it has an incredible alignment. He actually sends you a video of every unit he makes. He'll send you the video of your unit, and he has a dial indicator on it to show you the axle, which is the most important part for these things, that that it's aligned within a couple of microns. And so when you know you have that alignment in place, and you have the variable RPM, which means you can go really slow, and you can slow feed that, you are getting just incredible bang for your buck. Yes, it's not vertically mounted Burrs, but I think the fact that you are getting all of that at such a good price is something to laud. So yes, I would, if I had to choose one grinder, 100% I'm choosing Wug 2 over most anything, definitely anything at that price point. Under 2K, Wug 2, no question. Done. No question. Wug 2 is great. It just is. Like, 80mm Burrs are awesome. The ULFs, or they're called the HU by SSP as well, but those have holes in it. But if you can get blind Burrs, blind ULF Burrs, and you have the capability of getting the core bursts from Weber. You have the capability of the lab suite blinds. You have all these massive blind bursts that you can use. That's incredible. Now, I know Zerno is planning on an 80 millimeter, and it'll be blind, and it will be better, and I will prefer it, I can guarantee you, because it'll be auger pre-breaker, and it'll have those burrs. But for now, there isn't one. And so for now, I want bigger Burr go Burr, okay? Spicy takes. What overrated product you feel is everyone buying? There's a lot of those. If I had to narrow down to one. No, I don't want to speak about it because sometimes it might be, it could be like personal, I guess. I don't want to. Maybe if I feel spicy later, I'll say something. Also really like your Juan Jimenez Pink Bourbon. I love the Pink Bourbon. It was incredible. Vaguely surprised no one has done PID for La Pavoni. Any reason it can't be done? It's probably a little harder in a pressurized system to do a PID. No, I guess that's not true because everything's pressurized in other machines. I don't know why I said that. The reason I was saying that is I saw there was a mini Gaggia that someone put a PID on. And it's an open boiler, mini Gaggia lever. So yeah, you probably could. And honestly, there probably is someone. If you typed in on Reddit or Home Espresso, homebaristas.com, I bet you'll find someone who's done it. Why not just use a Swarks 5849 step-down basket? What's the advantage to a full conversion? Less headspace is the number one thing. The headspace kills a lot of the body and makes it a lot more difficult. The workflow is much more difficult. But the biggest thing is headspace. Biggest thing by far. Wait, okay, so I can't swing EG1, but WUG2 is no issue. Just do it. Yeah. I mean, I think the WUG2 is good. If you've seen the ergonomics of it and they don't bother you, then yes. And the aesthetics. Those are the two downsides of it. Though the ergonomics are better than what mine was. They made a big update and I didn't have an update. How come you didn't do a review on the MX Cool? So I mentioned this earlier, but essentially I didn't think it warranted a review. I didn't think it was that great personally. So at the price point and what it was supposed to do, I wasn't impressed. And I've said this many times in many places, but I don't like doing negative reviews. I don't relish doing them. In fact, every time I post a negative review, I get really sick to my stomach and I annoy Ugo so much. I text him before I release it. I'm like, was I too negative? Like, this is going to hurt people's feelings. You know, I don't like it. Okay. I may seem like, you know, I get very argumentative online, but that's because I grew up with a lawyer as a dad. Like, I'm a very argumentative person. I enjoy arguing. I don't get emotional with it, but I do get emotional if I'm hurting someone's feelings. I don't like that. So I don't do negative reviews unless A, they lie in marketing, or B, they are very, very hyped products. And I didn't, they didn't lie in marketing. MX Cool didn't. And I don't see their product being that hyped. So for me, it just didn't seem worth making a non-glowing review. Someone make an AI music video of Lance to the tune of Sir Mix-a-Lot. I like Big Burrs. Hey, I like it. Do we know when the 80 mil Zerno is coming? I don't. It won't be sub 2K. I don't think it'll be sub 2K, honestly. And no, I don't know. Does flow control on an E61 HX have the same heat problem you mentioned about the dimmer mod? Does flow control? Depends on how you're doing flow control. O2 and K6 guy again. Looking to minimize bitterness and astringency. O2 often brings out more chocolate notes and I prefer fruity. Tips? Oh, that's weird. You should get a decent mixture of the two. When I helped finalize their burrs, the idea was to give an all-round burr that like chocolates would taste good on and fruits would taste good on, but it would be kind of a nice blend of the two without being muddy. So I'm a little surprised by that. Maybe lower your temperature or go a little coarser in the grind. If bigger equals higher ceiling, do you plan to get Omnia for review? Seems like so. The Omnia, I've already taken one apart, and it's got all the same issues as the regular EK. Sadly, I had high hopes. Hate slow feeding on the ode. Yeah, the knob on the group head. ... Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. There's going to be some heat up. It's not going to be crazy though because it's a slow moving thermosiphon regardless. So I don't think it's really going to be that big of a deal. Honestly, the dimmer mod probably wouldn't be that big of a deal either, but there's going to be an uptick in temperature. There just is. You can do a legit dimmer flow control by using a zero cross transformer installed state relay. Absolutely, you can. One of the downsides or upsides to me, the Z1, is there's just no way I can justify upgrading. Just way too much money for too little benefit. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Once you've got something like that, or first of all, it looks beautiful. Second of all, it works. It just works. It's nice that it just works. You don't have to mess around with anything. And see, yeah, you've already thrown money into the fiery pits of hell. You're not going to get it back, so just stay with it. I blame Pietro for convincing me that bigger isn't better. Oh, good. No, that's great. No, and that's why I say bigger is higher potential. Just imagine what I could do with 98 millimeters of a surface area if I did that with 58. Okay, now that was way cocky, but you know what I'm saying. It's still bigger potential. You have bigger potential with bigger bursts. There's no arguing that. Now you can have all the size in the world, and if you make crappy burrs or crappy burrs, that has nothing to say about the size. And you could have a little burr that does an incredible job, has nothing to say about the size, right? But also, there's something else unique about Pietro is that it's really low RPM, right? You're hand grinding it, which is a different mechanic altogether than like direct driving it with an auger or a belt, or I mean axle. Does a perfectly aligned EK43 compete EG1 for single dose? Absolutely. Perfect. But that's so hard to find. The biggest issue with the EKs is not that the burrs are misaligned. It's that the axle comes bent or off-centered, which is wild to me that can even happen. Why no 300 millimeter burr grinder? LOL, the cost would be nuts for that motor. A motor for the torque for a 300 mil grinder? Get out of here. Have you tried many churroso? Oh, yeah, churroso. That's a Colombian coffee. I've tried lots of them. Well, it's it's a variety that's been hailed from Colombia. So, like, Rayo had a great churroso. That Prodigal had a great one. And then... who had the other good one? I've had probably 5 or 6, though. I can't remember them all. I think you should grab an 83 flat and 64, maybe also Pietro, and measure center hole circumference to OD. We've already done that in our Discord. We have done that. We have measured surface area with and without holes of lots of different grinders or burrs. I can't remember who made the graph for me, but someone came in and made a graph. I was just sending them measurements and people were doing calculations. It was a cool night in the Discord, but we have all that info. You could probably use the search function to find it in, I don't know which thread it was in. If someone remembers, it's in one of the threads. We were just talking about available surface area on different size burrs. And so I took all my burrs and I was measuring the inner diameter, outer diameter, and screw diameter. And we were doing calculations. It was really cool. Any thoughts on Titus grinders? Super tight tolerances, really well made. But I won't be getting one until they include an auger on the Nautilus. So business idea: fix EK43s and sell them. Oh, that would be miserable. And you would have to remove the rod from the motor and true it and replace it. That's too much work. I don't have the machinery for that. Do you think any coffee region is currently overperforming to their usual expectations in terms of quality? I mean, Colombia always is. Colombia, delicious. My Profitec Go single boiler has a lot of power when I steam at max steam. Sometimes I struggle with controlling the air injections. Would you recommend turning down the steam temp? No, just get good. No, that was rude. You can if you want, but honestly, it's all about that control, right? You just want little baby kisses and then slightly submerge the tip and ensure that it's fully submerged. Move the pitcher around if you think it's starting to come out to get some more air. You're good to go. I think Titus says that or did that before releasing their own grinders. I don't know what that's in refer to. Oh yes, they didn't fix EKs. They would fix Versalabs. Search Google for burr surface area comparison. Oh, there you go. You can Google search it. Top result from Reddit. Is that both diagram and specific details in the comment? Is that from my Discord or did someone else do it as well, Aaron? Have you tried Panamanian coffee? Of course, I've tried Panamanian coffee. It's delicious. Come on, that's where the OG Gesh is from. Nimbus has an auger, yes, but it's 75 mil burrs. I want them to make bigger burrs. I think it was a cross post. Okay, cool. Nice, good. Titus has some things to fix EK43, but doesn't sell. Yes, exactly. They, like, for instance, they have the which is actually a huge upgrade. Everyone should get it. But the Burr carrier, I bought mine. I did not pay. I mean, I did not get it free. I paid for it. He don't give stuff for free. But yeah, the Burr carrier is great. Huge upgrade. Cool as a cross post. That's cool. All right, I've caught up on comments. That's great. Sweet. Well, it's been an hour and 40 minutes. I've been yapping. I told you I was in a talky mood, and it is 12:03 at night, so I'm going to call it a night. Thank you very much for coming and chatting and chilling with me. I knew that Esmeralda coffee was not a good idea when I couldn't find decaf because I'm wired, and it was only 10 gram brew. But Oh, I did want to do one thing. Sorry. There's one other thing I wanted to do. I was this actually was really funny to me. So on ChatGPT, I saw on Instagram that like had ChatGPT roast somebody, and I know I've seen that before, but I was thinking, you know what? On the live, I want it to roast me, and I bet it'll be funny. So let's read what it says. I just prompted ChatGPT roast Lance Hedrick like a celebrity roast. I was scared if I put roast Lance Hedrick, it would just do something about roasting coffee. So anyway, actually, before I read this one, I'm going to see be harsher. I feel like it won't be harsh. So we'll read the second one. Be harsher. Oh, this one's good. This one's good. This one's good. Oh, Lance Hedrick, the self-proclaimed coffee messiah. Let's be honest. This guy makes coffee so complicated. It's like he's trying to unlock the secrets of the universe with a Chemex. Newsflash, Lance. It's just coffee. We're trying to wake up, not write a thesis on refractometry. Let's talk about his latte art obsession. Lance pours so many tulips, he probably thinks he's the Monet of milk. But let's face it, half of his designs look like they belong on a failed Pinterest board. And for all that time he spends flexing his barista biceps, this thing's caught up. His Rosettas still cry out for therapy. How many hearts do you need to pour before one looks symmetrical, Lance? And then there's his YouTube persona. Lance doesn't just explain coffee, he inflicts coffee knowledge on you. Watching his videos feels like sitting through a TED talk where the speaker keeps reminding you how much smarter they are than you. Every time he says pressure profiling, another home barista gives up and buys a Keurig. Oh, and the over-caffeinated energy. It's like he's mainlining espresso before every take. Bro, calm down. We get it. You love coffee, but some of us just want to drink it without needing a PowerPoint presentation. You're not reinventing the wheel here. You're just spinning it really fast and hoping no one notices it's wobbling. Physique-wise, sure, Lance looks like he could bench press a La Marzocco, but it's hard to take a gym selfie seriously when it's captioned with always dialing in. Are you dialing in a deadlift PR just trying to flex on coffee nerds who can't curl a tamper? At the end of the day, Lance, we love you, but tone it down. You're like an espresso shot, small, strong, and sometimes a little too much to handle. Take a sip of decaf, my dude. You've earned it. That was pretty good and like weirdly accurate. That is a little scary, actually. I'm crying. That was good. That hit a little too close to home. Oh my god. All right. Well, that was fun. That was a little terrifying, but that was fun. Now for real, I'll end it. But I wanted to end on a little self roasting. Thanks, ChatGPT, for roasting me to shreds. All right, love you all. Thanks, and we'll chat later. Cheers. Oh, and brew something tasty.